All right, you bunch of yahoos, strap yourselves in for another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity.
In other words, shut up, sit up, and pay attention.
Thank you very much for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Happy to come hang out with you, man.
Yeah. So when are you up for re-election?
July 30th is my primary, and then November, when the presidential election is, I'll be up. That's the general election. So if I get through the primary on the 30th, which I will, then go on to November, and hopefully Trump wins, and then hopefully the little peons like me win too.
Well, if Trump doesn't win, there won't be any peons, you know.
You're right, man. They're destroying it. They're destroying this country quick, dude.
Oh my God. It's like a dumpster fire, you know?
Yeah, it's like we need the Predator to come up to DC and start bashing some sense into people.
Well, heck, maybe I'll run for Congress.
Hey, there you go.
When she's running against Bustamante or whatever his name is, or what's his name? One what?
It's Cisco Monty.
Yeah, I know something like that. He's kind of a ding dong, isn't he?
Well, you know, it depends on. I guess it depends on who you ask. You know.
Yeah.
Some people like that style. Some people don't. It's kind of the same with me. You know, some people love me. Some people hate me. So.
You know, what's the toughest part of your job, man? The money or doing the work?
Yeah, I would say that the toughest part of the job is being away from my family, because I got two young kids, and so that's the toughest part for me.
How old are your boys?
I actually have daughters, Don.
Congratulations!
Yeah. Matter of fact, I need to talk to you about that, man. You got a shovel, right?
Yeah, I got a shovel, partner.
No, so yeah. That's the hard part for me. And then also I would say the toughest part of the job itself is just being so outnumbered. You know, there's a bunch of people up here that, you know, they talk a good game on the campaign trail, but then when it comes to being up here, they rarely stand with us and actually fight.
Yeah, they claim to be people. They claim to be Republicans, but they're not.
Yep, that's right.
So sorry to come a little late to the party right now. I don't know why my screen is showing as dark as what it is. I don't know how to lighten on it.
It's the beast.
I'm a little bit. I'm not good when it comes to a lot of this technology type of stuff. There, I'm a Neanderthal in a lot of ways, but I'm a good Neanderthal. I like. I mean, even though it's only on there for just a few seconds, there, I like what I hear you saying there already on things. So.
Yes, sir.
Crane, it's good to meet you. I hope to actually meet you and shake your hand one day there as
well. We met.
Where?
Yeah, I did the podcast when I was running. I met you guys at Don's house. It's okay, man. I know you.
You're old.
You're old, and you know you've been in a lot of fights.
Wait a second. It's bad enough I have to tolerate this from Don. I got to tolerate this from you now too. Gosh.
That's right. That's right.
You and Joe Biden been drinking out of the same.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I have to start falling down here now too, huh?
That's right. That's right.
But okay. I mean, you might have answered this already, but why politics? I mean, why jump into politics? I mean, it's such an ugly industry. There's, you know, why would you ever want to do that?
Well, because you know, it's there's a lot of problems up here, as you guys know. I mean, a lot of you know, Andrew Breitbart said a long time ago. He said that politics is always downstream of culture. So I'm not saying that politics is the sole problem in this country. I think we have a lot of problems in our culture, and often, you know, those problems don't get to Washington, D.C. and Capitol Hill until they've been permeating and, you know, festering in our culture for a long time. But, you know, there's a lot of people up here that, you know, just, they look out for themselves. They want to climb the ranks. They want to get promoted. They want to enrich themselves. and a lot of them don't have a lot of integrity. So they'll tell the American people one thing, and then they'll come up here and do something different. And so, and it's not that I think I'm shit hot or special. I know I'm not. I just know that, you know, I'm okay with going home. This isn't, I don't put this on a pedestal. And it's one of the reasons why I've come up here and, you know, fought like hell and quite frankly, pissed a lot of people in my own party off because I didn't come up here to, you know, make friends and to be comfortable.
Republican Party is weak at best. I mean, it's
No,
just it's going. It's like you wish there was a little bit more backbone and balls. That's what I'm looking for. Just a little bit more backbone and balls. I mean, be bold, make bold statements, but have the backbone to see it through. You know, it's like, you know, what the Democrats are doing right now. And again, I was never a party versus party type of person. To me, I think there's good people on both sides and there's bad people on both sides. It's like, but Jesus, I look at if you did fact checking and term limits, those two things would make such a big correction. You know, 2 term limits, because how much money can you steal in 8 years? And then you got to live amongst those people you stole it from. Oh, I think there'd be a real reckoning right there. So term limits and fact checking. Who should be afraid of fact checking unless you're telling a bunch of lies? No one should be afraid of fact checking. But I don't know.
No, I think fact checking is good. And I do think term limits would be helpful. I actually took that pledge that if it ever came up for a vote, that I would vote for it. I will tell you guys, I don't like the bill in its current form for one reason, and that is because the way it's written, it would give members of the House 3 terms, which would be 6 years. And it would give senators 2 terms, which would be 12 years. And the Senate's already, in my opinion, the weaker branch. They have, and what I mean by that, not as far as their powers, but I think they have a bunch of weaker members in the Senate than in the House. And so if you were to, you know, expand their power by giving them double the amount of time that you give us in the House, you know, I don't like that about the bill. But that being said, I would probably still support it just because I think that, to your point, Dan, I think that if we had term limits, you know, I think that it would decrease the amount of corruption and just give us faster turnover and probably be better for the country overall.
At least slow the corruption down.
Right.
Well, what's your big thing that you want to get out to people? I mean, again, I honestly, I know it's to get out and vote, because sometimes Americans think that it's going to take care of itself. So I mean, I know that's always a big issue. Make sure that people get out and vote. And if you don't like what's been happening, get off your lazy asses, get out there and vote. You know, it's otherwise shut up.
Yeah. No, I think the big issues right now are probably, it's got to be border number one.
Yes.
The border's a complete disaster. Unfortunately, you know, Joe Biden and Secretary Mayorkas, you know, concocted this plan even when they were campaigning and running for office. And as soon as they got in, they started executing it. They got rid of all the Trump era policies that were
working. That were actually working.
They were working and locking our border down. And he could fix a lot of it today with with multiple executive orders. He doesn't want to do it. So the border, I think, is the number one issue. Then I think after that, you know, I think that we really have to stop spending money that we don't have, or we're going to, you know, collapse our economic system. And sadly, guys, there's no appetite up here to do that, even on the Republican side of things. And then I think the third thing is ending a lot of the forever wars that we continue to engage in around the globe. That's something that, you know, is I think a real problem. And, you know, unfortunately, I see us right now, you know, on the verge of, you know, we could get pulled into 2 wars right now. And the Ukraine one is, I think, the more concerning one to me, just because of the amount of money that we've spent over in Ukraine. The fact that, you know, has the potential to lead us into, you know, it's a proxy war right now, but it could lead us into a nuclear World War III with the largest nuclear superpower in the world. They have more nuclear weapons than we do. But it's also, Ukraine is also Ukraine is also one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And so, a lot of the money that we send over there, there's not even any auditing going on. I think we've sent close to $175 billion over there. And so, I don't want to see more Americans end up going and, shedding their blood, over, Ukraine's sovereignty when we won't even protect our own southern border and
Exactly.
U.S. cities and towns and counties. And so I think that's also a big issue as well for me and many others up here.
Well, I like what you're saying right there. I mean, it's it's doing the right thing for our country. That's why, again, I simply look at American first. If we do all the things that keeps American first, then it just I would just say it was a shame what happened on the first day of Biden's presidency, shoving all these papers in front of him, executive order after executive order, and the guy didn't even know where he's at. He just signed in his name and signed his name because they're telling him what to do. So
Yep. No, it's bad, guys. I mean, you know the deal. I mean, it's so sad to me when you look at who the commander in chief is, and you alluded to it, Dan. This guy doesn't know where he's at. He can barely walk upstairs. He falls all the time. He can't string together a sentence.
Right there. I mean, the fact that the Democrats went after Trump so hard to have a cognitive test,
right?
That he passed with flying colors.
Yeah.
And where are the Republicans we turned into favor? Knowing that Biden won't even come close to being a first grader, I think, in terms.
No, I was with President Trump last week in New York. I was there for his trial to support him, and he was in great spirits, and he's as sharp as attack, sharp as ever.
Right.
And I think I can't wait till he comes back and takes the reins over as commander in chief again. I think our country will, I hate to put everything on his back because I think that's unfair and I don't think it's realistic, but I think it's just obvious why they're going after him and trying to put him in jail for 750 years because they can't beat him and because they know that nothing that they've tried is working against him. And so, I support him and, I know a lot of the American people do as well.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Doug.
How do we get past this stuff? I mean, we know they cheated the last time, and they're cheating this time by bringing all these illegals in, and they're going to let them vote. How do we prevent that?
Yeah, a lot of, and I'm in agreement, Don. I don't believe for a second that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. I've been very vocal about that. I know people say, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist," and this and that and the other thing. And we could go into that. For me, that's a separate conversation. But the bottom line is, we got to win.
Conspiracies are becoming true, like the Kennedy assassination.
We got to win. We got to win by a ton. So even their efforts to rig it don't matter. I mean, just to give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. 2 weeks ago, up here in Capitol Hill, every single Democrat voted against making it illegal for illegal aliens to be counted in our census, which would absolutely affect, congressional seats and how things play out in elections. So it just goes to show they don't give a rip about, the Constitution or, having legal, chain of custody votes count. All they care about is power. It's so obvious. And I really don't care what they call me or anybody else that, points out the obvious that, there's no way this guy got, millions and millions of more votes than Barack Obama. I wasn't a fan of Barack Obama, but people were excited about Barack Obama, and he could string together a sentence and, people thought, he was smooth and articulate and intelligent. Joe Biden, even when he ran, 4 years ago, was a complete gaffe machine. he was still, you know, having trouble putting sentences together back then. He'd run a couple times, he'd lost, you know, for plagiarizing. And the guy, I mean, he's as corrupt as anybody up here. And, you know, I don't believe for a second, you know, that he got 81 million votes. And, you know, it's like I said, we gotta blitz. We gotta win by a ton. And we've gotta, you know, completely overwhelm, you know, their efforts to interfere with the election, which you're seeing right now in courts, you know, all over the country.
And then they gave the FBI had rights to shoot to kill when they you know, invaded Mar-a-Lago. You know, that's crazy. That's just crazy.
Yeah, and it's pretty apparent that they actually tampered with you know, some of the evidence and putting cover sheets on some of the documents that they seized from Mar-a-Lago as well. And so there's and the sad thing is, guys, it's like this is one of the reasons I get frustrated with Republicans, because we talk about these things, but very rarely are we willing to do anything with it. And it's like the other side plays, they play to win, and we play to lose by less, and it's frustrating. But you know, that's just it's one of the reasons why you know, I voted. I don't know if you guys were following this, but last year I voted to get rid of Speaker McCarthy. I was one of the 8 people that did it. Once I realized that, and that had never happened in American politics ever. And so it was one of the reasons I made a bold move, because, you know, once I realized that the leader of our party in the House was incapable of leading us in a manner that was good for the American people, I said, okay, it's time for a change. Let's fire this guy. And a couple weeks ago, I voted not to table a motion to vacate with Mike Johnson. You know, and I've said it many times. I'll say it again. Mike Johnson, our new speaker, he's a really nice guy. I like him a lot personally, but he's leading us in the same direction, really, that Kevin McCarthy was. And so, you know, taking votes like that doesn't make you very popular up here. But like I said, I didn't come up here to be popular. I came up here to see if we could, you know, save this country. And, you know, even if that means, you know, come out of this looking like some of your guys' UFC opponents, all bloodied and battered, then hey.
That's down. He's that mean vicious that he has had all these anger issues that he's growing up there.
I know.
He beats up people. I'm nice about I just put like little choking type of holds on people. That's all.
Yeah.
Fighting.
Well, yeah, no, when I watched your fight, Dan, you didn't look that nice, man. I mean,
well, again,
so
there's been only a couple matches. I think I might have watched too many of Don's matches at the time. I don't know. Had some, but wow.
Well, what's going on with the border right now that you could do something about?
Yeah, well, you know, unfortunately, guys, I don't think much is going to be done about the border, and the reason for that is because we gave away most of our leverage. The biggest leverage that we had is the power of the purse, and basically that's what the House controls. When we passed these last spending bills over the last month and a half, that was the leverage that we had when we gave that away. It's pretty clear to most of us up here that there won't be a whole lot done on the border. It would have been hard to begin with, honestly, guys, because we don't control the Senate and we don't control the presidency. But in my opinion, had we played our leverage wisely and basically said, we're not going to fund your government unless you secure the southern border, I think we could have got it done. But for our leadership, they felt like it was too politically risky, because they felt like it would have led to a government shutdown. And they're probably right, but I can tell you guys, the people that I represent really don't care if this government shuts down, for the most part, because they don't feel like it works for them or represents them anyway. And so I know that not every member up here feels that same way, but you know, that's why I don't think much is going to be done about the southern border. I think we're going to continue to see, you know, thousands of illegal aliens flooding in every single day, you know, even more fentanyl and, you know, illegal drugs flooding in every day, killing our kids and destroying families. gang members, individuals on the terror watch list coming across that southern border every single day. And don't be surprised, guys, if you see another 9/11 style attack or a series of them happen in this country,
Yep.
in the near future, just because, like we used to say in the military, when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And that we're definitely guilty of playing a lot of stupid games.
Right. Now, what about a militia? What can we get a militia together to because it's right there in the Constitution.
Yeah.
Get a militia together to control the border.
Well, I think that, definitely constitutional. I don't know if there's militias around the country strong enough to, definitely stop that flood, because you're talking about thousands of people every single day, in multiple different sectors. And so, I'm grateful that our founders were smart enough to, write the Constitution in such a way, to allow things like that. But honestly, I don't think that that's a really, I don't think it's going to work, to be honest with you.
How come?
Because I don't think that there are any that are strong enough to curb the tide of that, to be honest with you.
Right. Right. But you don't think we can get one together like the National Guard is obvious.
It's possible. I mean, I think anything's possible right now. But then you'd have, I think what would end up happening is you'd have some of the issues that you're seeing going on in Texas right now, where you start to see, the federal government and the state government, getting into standoffs and start to suing each other. And I think, most American citizens cannot absorb that type of lawfare, kind of like what they're doing with the president right now. It takes a lot of money to defend yourself against a body like the U.S. federal government that, can just continue to, sue you into oblivion and print money, and take your money and then, use it against you. And so it's possible, Don, but I don't see it happening.
Is there any way to put a cap or a limit on the spending by the government in lawsuits like that?
I honestly, I don't know, brother. I'd have to look into that. I don't know that anything like that would even, be constitutional itself, that you could limit the amount of money somebody could spend in a lawsuit. But I don't know. I'd have to look into it, man. I'm not sure on that one.
Or else making it to where they have to spend the equal amount, and that way they can't outspend you. Just keep litigating until your great grandchildren die of old age.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely something to take a look at. I like this one better. How about for anybody in political leadership that's unwilling to shore up the southern border, they have to face you in a cage match. I like that one better.
I like that one. I'll get my fat butt in shape, for that.
There you go.
Good one.
We sure don't want me to put on the old Speedos right now. That's just...
I don't know, man. I still wouldn't mess with you, bro. Unless I was packing, and then it might be a fair fight at that point. But.
I don't know. I've seen what you're capable of doing. It's scary, So how much time is taken away from the office in order to raise funds for your campaign?
I think it depends on the individual. It depends on the individual, what district they're in, how much money they need to, either run for their race, run for reelection, etc. For me, thankfully, I do pretty well in raising money digitally. And so that helps me a lot with time management. But, some folks aren't strong in that area. And so they have to be on the phone all the time, right, raising money. And, I feel like it's a double-edged sword. For us, unlike on the Senate side where their terms are 6 years, our terms are 2 years. And so in the House of Representatives, it feels like you're always running for reelection. And that's I think it's a good thing and a bad thing. I think it's good because you guys can fire us every 2 years if we're not doing a good job of representing you. But to your point, each member, depending on their strengths and weaknesses in the district they're in, it's possible that they spend a lot of time instead of doing the job that you're hoping they're doing, actually running for reelection.
Right, right. So what's the biggest hurdle you face? I mean, in DC, not even reelection funds or anything, but what's the biggest hurdle in DC?
Um, you know, when you're not talking about reelection, I think the biggest hurdle is actually, trying to do what we told the American voters that we'd actually do. And that's because, in my opinion, there's only a handful of people up here that are willing to actually, execute on what the Republican platform is. And, even when it's hard. And so I think that's the hardest thing for me, knowing and believing that this country is in trouble and it's being destroyed from within. Just watching it go down, and then, watching a bunch of my colleagues continually take votes that I know aren't beneficial to the American people in the present or in the long term. And so I think that's the hardest thing for me. When it comes to staying up here, I think the hardest thing for me is actually being one of the fighters up here. And what I'll tell you guys is this: the uniparty or the swamp or the cartel or whatever you want to call it, it only really has two moves. Move number one is try and co-opt you and bring you onto the team and suck you in, right? And then if they're not able to do that and they know you're not going to be on the team, move number two is to get rid of you. And that's where I prefer to be. I prefer to I prefer to fight against the uniparty in the swamp, but it definitely means that all knives are out, and it means that you're going to have a hell of a time even trying to stay up here, because the people that you piss off when you go against the machine up here, they're powerful, they're very well funded, and they've got a lot of moves that are very effective. And so that's definitely part of the struggle as well.
How much time do you spend back and forth? I mean, or is there constantly going back and forth, or do you stay in the DC area for certain lengths of time,
Yeah,
then come back home?
no,
But I'm just kind of curious how that works.
no, it's a good question. So we're up here about 3 weeks out of the month.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And I usually try and come home on the weekends, most weekends, spend time with my family, and also work in the district. And so I'm usually back at home about 1 week a month. And so I'll
That's
be
it's got to
next.
be tough on the family too.
It's very tough on the family. And thank God my wife is awesome and she's super strong and holds the fort down. But next week, the beginning and middle of the week, I'll be traveling around my district, working up in the district, and then I'll get a couple days at the end of next week with my family. So I'm looking forward to that. But it's definitely not good for family life, but you have to kind of weigh and balance. And I have to ask myself, if we don't try and alter the way this town works, I'm not sure what my kids are going to be left with anyway. And so
Exactly.
you
Well,
kind of,
I know why. Again, if a person has any kind of foresight there, I mean, they're looking at
right,
what's going to be best for their children, their grandchildren, and so on. So,
right,
and just like you
right.
said earlier, the financial burden that we're passing on to our children, our grandchildren, it can't sustain itself. You know,
No, it can't.
it's gonna break the bank.
We're spending about, I think, $1 trillion every, I think, 120 days right now. So I think we're closing in on 35 trillion in debt right now. Every year in perpetuity going forward, you'll add at least $2 trillion to that. It'll be 50 trillion in no time. And I think now we're spending more just to finance our debt than we spend on national security.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's so out of control up here, and like I said, there's really no appetite to quit spending money we don't have, and so it's definitely one of my biggest concerns. I know the rest of the world is watching. I think some of our adversaries are licking their chops, and if we don't pull our collective heads out of our rear ends, we're gonna crash this thing, and you know, that's what concerns me the most. I think that if we started exercising some wisdom and a little common sense, I think we could turn this thing around. And I don't think that there's anybody that could, you know, mess with us around the globe. But I think that our adversaries have realized just how insane we've become, not only culturally, but politically. And if we don't change our ways really quickly, it's just a matter of time.
How much time do you have left of this, sir?
Hey, how much time do I got, Zach? I actually I got like one more minute.
All righty.
Sorry, guys.
No, if someone wants to donate to your cause and stuff like that, where could people donate or reach out to you, ask
Yeah.
questions, or
Thank you, guys. Yeah, so it's just elifororarizona.com if people want to support me. Yeah, I really appreciate it, and appreciate you guys. You know, I still watch your fights on YouTube, you know, when I've had a bad day up here, you know, and you know, appreciate you guys. And Dan, I'm sorry that I left such a crummy impression on you the first time you didn't even remember who I was, but love you guys and appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Crane, all the best of luck there to you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
God bless.
Take care.
Thank you for watching another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity. You better like, subscribe, and share, or I'm going to come to your house.